Hey guys, today I want to answer a question that recently I get a lot, and that's to give you more details on the rebuild project for Bless and my thoughts on the changes. So I decided I'm going to give you some information on what NeoWiz changed and how these changes affect the game, because to be honest, there were some very big ones. For those of you who don't know, Bless is an upcoming MMORPG with great potential, a mix of Aeon, Terra with a few elements from Black Desert. So if you're interested in more details about the game, please check the playlist in the description below. I have some really cool videos explaining all the basics. Also, before I start talking about rebuild, I'd like to answer one other question I keep seeing. When do I think the release date will be? I think the release date will be on the 22nd of March or 22nd of February 2018. Now, the rebuild project and what has changed since they started the whole thing. Well guys, a lot has changed. I'll start with combat because I know that's what the majority of people had doubts about. Combat in general is faster paced now for all classes, including healers. The action combat part of the game, especially for DPS classes, feels now a lot more fluent and slightly more rewarding when you press your buttons, yeah? To help with the feeling of fast combat, also some skill cooldowns have been reduced. So if you have not played the previous version of Bless, you will feel just as playing a normal good MMORPG. Yeah? No difference for all of you brand new players out there. A very important part that was completely revamped was the skill system and skills in general, which also ties to combat. Now this was the old skill system where you had quite many choices of various builds to play, and that's about it. This, on the other hand, is the new skill system, more complex in terms of what skills actually do, and a lot more customization for your builds due to the skill upgrade system that is now in your hands, as opposed to the previous system where it was out of your control because skills leveled up themselves, yeah, as you leveled up. Similar to how Aeon has it. When you level up, your old skills also kinda level up. I personally appreciate a lot the ability to customize your builds and come up with unique ones. Reason why I rank games like Guild Wars 2 and Wildstar very highly. So after these changes, these skill tree changes, Bless is one more game which gives players like myself a lot of joy playing, testing, figuring stuff out. Other changes that relate or impact combat and how the classes feel are some completely new skills were added for each class. Physical defense values were slightly nerfed, many skill tooltip changes, and some complete rework of some skills, yeah, for each class. I can say that the updated skills and skill system in general is my favorite change, hands down, because it brings a ton more cool interactions in between classes, yeah, and adds another level of complexity to character development in PvP and in PvE as well. The bottom line, guys, combat and classes feel great, and you will feel great, you will have a great time as you discover and play your class, yeah. Other changes include some UI rework. Thank God for removing this ugly menu from the top and instead going for a clean options menu here, which opens up in a larger selection with all the basic shortcuts you might need. Big kudos from me for this change. I hate those games that force you to look at 67 menus all the time when you play. So yeah, thank God for this change. Speaking of UI, it's still not resizable, which for me is a big minus, but I hope this is in the works for the devs, yeah. Another big change that I want to talk to you about is to the mount system, which in my opinion is not a good change. So before, just for you to get a good overview, before you had a mount, you popped it, you rode it, yeah? Now you have a mount, you pop it, you ride it for a limited time because it has its own stamina, and when that runs out, you're gonna need to walk or use another mount, which is boring and it's not a nice change. What Neo is trying to do here with the mounts having their own stamina is kind of a positive thing, and to fully explain it I would have to just dwell very deep into crafting, cash shop, open world PvP, and how everything ties together with this change and with mounts, right? Sadly, we don't have time for that in this video, and nobody's curious anyway. All I want to say is that I don't like this change. I understand why, but I understand why they made it, but it could have been done 10 times better, because right now it's just annoying, restrictive, and not very encouraging for new players, yeah? Cool. Another change related to mounts and casual stuff in general is mount skins and pet skins. Now these weren't in the game before rebuild. This is a nice change, one that I don't mind, but I think it's a very good step for the cash shop. Personally, I believe that mount and pet skins were introduced in the shop as a method of extra income for the company, without going into pay-to-win strats, which is obviously very appreciated, yeah? Did I mention the new gear enchanting system that the developers just added? I didn't, and it's a big thing because it wasn't here before. It's kind of similar to Hieron, only a lot less bullshit, kind of like Terra-ish in a way, you know, like Hieron, but without the bullshit. I like it, especially because the rune system has been toned down a lot in terms of the needed grind for it. This gear enchanting addition comes in perfectly to compensate for the much easier rune acquisition, let's say, yeah? And speaking of runes, guys, this is the last change I want to mention, and it's huge. Not per se, as in the change itself, but in the way it impacts the end game and your activity and my activity in the game, yeah? Crafting has been reworked to feel logical and normal, but most importantly, runes are now crafted, and the whole system has been changed dramatically. I will surely not get into the technical details of this change, because last time I talked about it with my friends, it was a 5-hour Skype call. So, but don't worry. If you've never played Bless so far, you will not feel a single thing. I will give you though a rough idea on the whole rune thing, because I kind of feel bad not explaining stuff I talk about, and also because the rune system was the one biggest thing to do in Bless at end game and to grind for, yeah? So it was really important, and it still is partially. So in the old Bless, funny, I call the previous version of Bless old when the game hasn't even been released, right? Anyway, before the rebuild, runes made you God, yeah? For you to understand, let me give you Hieron as an example. Imagine if in Hieron you could combine 2 white crit strike +1 mana stones and get 1 crit strike +2, and then combine 2 crit strike +2 and get 1 crit strike +4, and then the 2 +4s into 1 +8, and so on 12 times until you get a crit strike +400, let's say, or +300 in Hieron. Imagine that. Now add to that a chance to fail and destroy both runes used as mats, starting with level 6 up until level 12. Add to that the fact that there were 4 different rarities of runes. It was white, green, blue, and purple. And also add to that the fact that only bosses in dungeons and raids and weekly PvP reward boxes gave you these good runes, the blue and the purple we're talking about, yeah? White and green dropped everywhere, but we don't care about those. So at the end, you have this huge grind to reach a level 12 purple quality rune, it would basically take years of farming to have 20 pieces of these best runes in game, but it would be worth it because these runes make you a god. So this is the whole rune system in a nutshell, yeah, really important stuff. Another thing important to note is that unlike Hieron, the bless runes are permanent, so they don't get lost when you socket them, as in you can just simply take them off your gear and give them to your alt for a day when you level up, and then take them back when you want to do some dungeons or PvP on your main. I like this, by the way, a lot, the fact that runes are tradable and you can still take them off of your gear. And of course, you don't have to think these runes were broken or made bless imbalanced and that's why they changed them. No, not really. That's because you couldn't use only, let's say, offensive runes. There's like two categories of runes, offensive and defensive. You couldn't use only offensive or only defensive. On armor, you had to have defensive runes because armor had defensive stats, while weapons and accessories had offensive stats slots. So yeah, you could not have 100% crit chance and at the same time have, I don't know, 50% cast speed increase, 100% cooldown decrease, etc. You had to choose. So you want 100% crit chance? Sure, go for it. Socket all offensive slots with crit chance. But then your cast time is gonna be shit, your cooldowns are gonna be crappy, and your skill damage would be mediocre. If you wanted 50% cooldown reduction, sure, but then your crit chance is 4%, and so on and so forth. You guys get the picture. You could have played around very nicely, and it brought a lot of complexity and customization to each build, each character, depending on the playstyle and the content. If we continue to imagine stuff, it would have made the game more pay to win, because you could have deposited euros, get gold, buy +12 runes, be god, yeah? So it's really simple. So really nice change that they changed it. Again, as I keep noticing, NeoWiz is making more and more moves to go away from pay to win and just introduce new things that they can sell in the cash shop which are not pay to win. Anyway, everything has changed now, guys. Runes are craftable. Runes no longer drop, no longer have 4 qualities, no longer 12 levels. Personally, I have mixed feelings about this because I'm a retard and I like grindy stuff. However, all my friends and guildies are very happy about this and they know better. So TLDR, rune system change is positive, makes crafting even more useful than it was before, and it affects the cash shop indirectly, again in a positive, safe, non-pay to win, and I am very happy. Hooray everybody, yeah? That's it everyone. These are some of my thoughts so far about the new Bless, the rebuild project. Until my next video, guys, I wish you lots of love and see you soon.